All right, in this video, we are going to talk about ETH and how ETH is starting to break out to the upside. And we are starting to see ETH statistics on the institutional side, the ETF side, as well as the derivative side starting to heat up as well. So in this session, we're just going to dive into ETH and talk about if ETH is going to start to rally here and what could be telling us that, and also if that will coincide with a potential altcoin season. But please know that nothing on this call is financial advice, and here's a quick disclaimer before we dive in. All right, so let's dive into the market for ETH. Right now, I am looking at ETH USD on the daily time frame. And I want to note some things about the current price of ETH. We were looking at ETH right here, sitting at around 2,800. And one thing that is significant right now for Ethereum is if we take a look at its last consolidation here. We can see ETH was making a pit stop, basically just bouncing from 2,700 to 23 or 2,400 basically. And you can see now that ETH has decided to push up and break out to the upside of that zone. So the question is, are we going to see ETH actually make a move that's a continued move to the upside, right? Grab an arrow here. Are we going to see more of a continued move to the upside? So what could potentially give us that idea if we were going to see some continued moves? So one thing I will note is that there was a major downtrend for ETH over here, basically at the beginning of the year. End of 2024, early 2025, ETH was just continually pushing to the downside, eventually going down around 66%. And if we take a zoom out here, go to a higher time frame, we can see that ETH actually swept the lows here in October, September 2023. So a pretty good area in terms of potential liquidity. All of these leveraged longs may, or at least most of them, probably were washed out due to this little probe here. And then you can see this nice downtrend and a very aggressive breakout of that downtrend. Now, ETH is technically in a longer term uptrend. We just kind of draw a line here. You can also see that the trend was probed to the downside a little bit here, but we are continuing to, or ETH is continuing to place higher lows, okay? So if ETH is about to continue to the upside, the question is where would ETH potentially be going? Of course, the market is the market, but we can potentially spot some areas where aggressive bears came into the market. We can see some bears up here around 3,300, up here around 3,600. So it might not be a one-stop shop run to the upside, as there's possibly past sellers back here, but we can indeed see this breakout. Some investors, some analysts might even interpret this as some form of a inverse head and shoulders pattern, breakout to the upside here. We can see a tight consolidation on the left, a big sweep to that head on the low and in the middle. And then on the right-hand side, we can see a little bit of a break to the upside. And on this break, the question is there significant volume on the break? We pull on some indicators. We can indeed see that volume is rising, but it's not too crazy. But we do have a significant spike in volume on that breakout candle. In terms of moving averages, we can see that this pink line is the 200 period EMA, so it's the 200-day exponential moving average. The price has been using that as support, and the market is sitting flat on top of that moving average. We'll have to see if that average starts to point to the upside, but we have the 50 pointing up and the 20 pointing up. Okay, so on another note, if we look over here onto some of the institutional and derivative statistics, what I want to show you guys here, this is just coinglass.com/ETH ETF. We can actually see the total Ethereum spot net inflows to ETH. So this is the ETH spot ETF. We can see Grayscale, BlackRock, Bitwise, Fidelity, Van Eck, Franklin Templeton, 21 shares, and Invesco. These are all the major ETH ETF issuers, and we can actually see, even if we switch it to USD, what the total inflows or outflows are for each one of these. So for example, Grayscale just on the 10th bought $9.7 million of ETH, BlackRock 80 million, and so on and so forth. We can see the total net flow right here on the right-hand side. And if we scroll down, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 consecutive days of positive ETF inflows. Sorry if my face is in the way there. Or if we go down to this chart where it says total Ethereum spot net ETF net flows, we can also see that it has basically been green inflows all the way since May 15th, 2025. So does this mean that institutions or investors who choose to invest in crypto through ETFs are bullish on ETH? And if we compare that to, say, Bitcoin, and we go here to the Bitcoin ETF overview, we click the funds flow, we switch to dollars. You can see here we have 2 days of positive inflows for the Bitcoin ETF, but we also see some mixed in red days for the Bitcoin ETF. And if we look back here, it's not the same as ETH. ETH's had all green days. Bitcoin has had some red days on the ETF side. So pretty interesting there. We're starting to see more ETF flows in terms of positive net days into ETH compared to Bitcoin. And of course, the price is reflecting that. Also, if we go into our open interest to look at the derivatives data, we can take a look here at, say, the Bitcoin derivatives data. See Bitcoin derivatives data, we can see open interest super low here, starting to rise and actually coming back down. And if we go to ETH, we can see that ETH's open interest is just continuing to rise. So on the institutional side, we are seeing on the derivative side, we are seeing ETH open interest rise, which means more traders are getting into ETH contracts. And given that the price of ETH is going up, that could mean that these contracts are mostly long contracts. All right. So one other thing that we could start to look at before we hop off here is the altcoins. So you can either look at the total crypto market. This is going to show the total 150 top cryptocurrencies by market cap. If we go to total 2, that removes Bitcoin, and we are starting to see basically ETH and below. And there is kind of a notable chart pattern. If you guys can see it right here, you can see potentially this cup with handle formation here. We have the cup and we have this handle formation. Still hasn't been broken to the upside, but if we do see total 2 break out to the upside, could that indicate that the altcoins are going to start performing? And then last thing we'll talk about is Bitcoin dominance. We can see here on the daily time frame that Bitcoin dominance is breaking down a little bit. There was an initial breakdown right here. Once Bitcoin dominance hit about 65%, big exits from Bitcoin and into altcoins right down here. And then Bitcoin dominance has been rising since May 2025, basically mid-May. And we have this rising channel, and we do see a breakout to the downside right now to this on this rising channel. So are we going to see maybe some sort of equal measured move here, where this breakout might take Bitcoin dominance more towards its major weekly trend line? Could we see something like we did back here in late 2024, where also Bitcoin dominance dropped from around that 60% mark all the way down to 55%? That was a, let's see here, 11% move. And right here, let's say from this breakout, if the market does touch this trend line, about a 6% move. And if we do kind of notice altcoins in this zone back here in November 2024, all the way to December 2024, Let's go into the altcoin market. Let's just look at total 2. That's actually right here, November 2024. This move here, all the way through December 2024, was an 84% move for altcoins. We look at ETH. That move for ETH probably would be very similar, around 67%. Say we look at another altcoin like Solana during that time frame. We have November and December. That move was about 64%. So I wonder if we are going to see a similar move if we do see Bitcoin dominance come back down towards that weekly trend line. So hopefully that helps. There are some hints on the radar that ETH could be starting to prepare for a potential breakout here. Maybe it's going to start targeting those highs. Say we do see close to that 60% move to the upside. Where would that lead us? Or lead this market? It would actually lead the market above its prior all-time highs. I wonder if that will even get us towards, prior midterm highs. Here are the all-time highs. So maybe getting us close towards that $4,500 mark. Of course, we will have to see how the market plays out. But nonetheless, some exciting stuff here. We are seeing some statistics show us that ETH is having interest on an institutional side, a derivative side, in the price action, in the Bitcoin dominant side. So we'll have to see how that pans out if we are going to see an alt season or an ETH season. The evidence is starting to bubble up. So hopefully that was helpful, and I will see you guys on the next session.